she kind of be for real. For real. Cosmic psychedelic funk is what I came to do. Yeah. I feel by funky. Hey. So by funky. I feel by cosmic soul. Hey. Everyone gather around me. Let's get down. We are one.
Hey, everybody. Look, hey. Look, we are here. We are live. Welcome to the second episode of Vault Sessions Unleashed with Toccara Nicole. It is indeed my podcast. I am so excited. As you guys know, that is indeed my word. If you know anything about Toccara Nicole, I am always excited about something. And so I'm excited to be with you guys tonight or whenever you're catching this. If you're catching this on Anchor FM, because you're tuning into my podcast. And so we're thankful for you to be listening tonight, wherever you are around the world tuning in. And so a little bit about my podcast. For those of you who may not know who I am, I'm indeed an international figure, as I am known as the identity architect and coach, as I serve millennial and Generation X women to discover their identity by powerful insight, discernment, and sensitivity. So I also am the proud founder of Toccara Nicole Identity and Life Coaching, as well as the founder of Boss Consulting and Publishing, where I take the ideas that people have in their heads around birthing books and literally we transform it into putting them in people's hands. So super excited about being with you guys tonight. Today, whenever you're catching this, maybe on the replay. That was funny. I felt like the cat in the hat real quick. So things that you will see or hear on this podcast are all things related to life. So whether we're talking about relationships, whether we're talking about entrepreneurship, whether we're talking about lifestyle issues, you're going to find these things right here on this platform. So tonight, I have entitled tonight's episode, The Power of Your Emotions and Your Mind. I am so elated to have such an amazing, beautiful soul here with me, getting ready to bring her on the platform. Her name is Amanda Danielle. She is a transformational life coach, and she is really passionate about helping people mind, body, and soul. She has an amazing testimony about how she's been transformed in her body, mind, and soul, even over the past 5 years. Alone. Her story is just phenomenal. And so wanted to bring her to you guys for a couple of reasons. One, there's so much power that we exude as individuals, and our mind is literally our battlefield, which allows for our emotions to be in tune with the thoughts that go on in our minds, right? So there's times where we have trouble trying to balance everything that comes through our minds. And so we're going to have a practical fireside chat today, whenever you're catching this, even on the replay and also on the podcast. So being able to be in tune with your emotions and feelings so you can maybe destroy these barriers or know how to maneuver over these barriers so you can literally be successful in all areas of your life. That's important. So with that being said, introducing to some and really, really excited to bring her to the stage for all, Amanda Danielle. There she is. Hey, lady.
Hey.
Hi. So we're excited that you are here with us. There's a lot of things you can be doing tonight, and you're here giving us some insight around all that you do. So let's start with you sharing with the audience a little bit about who you are. Do you mind?
No, absolutely. Thank you. It's such an honor to be able to spend some time with you. As our paths always cross, and we always have a little glitch of when we get to actually take time and have conversation. But So a little bit about me is I am a transformational life coach, working on the emotional and energy side of life, being able to release baggage. A lot of us sit and have things in our life, the trauma and the drama that we know and we're aware of, but we don't know how to release and let go of them. So I love, love, love working with people to dig a little deeper to find out what the root of those problems are. And maybe we're aware of them, maybe we're not. Connect the dots and be able to release them out of not only our conscious mind, but our subconscious mind.
And that's huge. You said a whole mouthful. And what I love about what the work that you do is that you're very passionate about it and understanding that in order for transformation to take place, the digging is required. And a lot of people don't want to dig just because of the hurt, the pain, the trauma around what they've dealt with. But in order to really transform and to rebuild your life, you really have to do the work, and that requires digging. So let's talk about you just a little bit. What made you engulf yourself in this work? And I use the word engulf, ladies and gentlemen, because she's not just talking it, she walks it, in reference to living a life of literally transforming. I've had the honor and privilege of knowing her. It seems like longer than 2 years, but it's only been 2 years. And I've seen her transform in mighty, mighty, mighty ways just in a short time that I've been knowing her. So share with us, what led you down this path.
Like a lifetime all on its own. So we can count that as 5 years. But the thing that really set me down this path was my own, first off, was my own personal experience. I can go back as far as when I was a teenager and I pulled my groin in a sports injury. And then I got into massage therapy. And the first thing I did when I graduated from high school was I got into massage therapy. But I quickly realized that the mind, the body, and the soul are all connected, because when I would talk with my clients, if they talked, I'd talk. And when they would talk, they would release extra trauma and drama out of their muscles. And I'm like, dang, there's something into this. So for years, since 2003, I was a massage therapist. And then 7 or 8 years ago, I can't remember, I lose track of time now, but I dove into the personal development side of things. And when I started looking at that, and as you know, I always say, when you get real and raw with life, life gets real and raw with you. And those are the things that people don't want to dig on. Those are the things that the situations that are in our deepest, darkest corners, but they're haunting us. There's things that are going to trigger us because we know they're there and we're pushing them away, but they just keep coming back out. And until we let them come out and face them, and it's not pretty, it sucks. It is not pretty. But what sent me on that path, and I always tell a story, and it's such a huge part of my story, and there's such a transformation from it since it's happened. But 8 years ago, my brother told me that I was nothing but a selfish bitch. And I was like, So I started doing the work in on me. I hired my first coach. It was a spiritual life coach. And we started working on me, because the only way you can change anything in your life is dealing with yourself. And so 8 years later, here I am. I mean, we reunited a few years, last summer, 2 summers ago, my brother and I. And, I say it over and over again. I'm thankful. I'm so thankful that he said that to me, because instead of me fighting it, I turned and I did my inner work. So not only do I have the professional experience, I got the personal experience. And not only do I have it in my family, I have it through my health journey. I have it, and I don't take that as something that's degrading. I've taken that as my lessons in my learning, and I've switched it. And that's when we can switch our energy, we can switch our mindset and allow ourselves to flourish from it. As you know, one of the things I like to say is you take your pain and your passion to flourish your life and journey's purpose.
And see, okay, you guys, I'm telling you, she drops these nuggets like it's nothing, like all day long. This is what she does. And she just drops them so effortlessly. It's like, stay woke, pay attention. She's talking again. But I love it because the wisdom that flows is definitely needed in this journey that we call life. And so I love that you shared what you shared, because a lot of times we go through life and we sometimes hold on to words and we don't do anything with them. So when you got this, these words from your brother, someone you love, and someone that literally, has walked with you in some shape or form, you're like, okay, let me take some time to re-examine this. Let me look into this a little more. And that takes courage, that's boldness, that takes an unction of, you know what? Something's not clicking, and I need for it to click, and everything else. And so what I love about that is that you were afraid, and you did it afraid, and look at the transformation. So one thing I really want to hit on is that we are living in interesting times, right? And so I say interesting because I don't think that it's all bad. I think that something like this had to happen to awaken a lot of us to really understand the power that we exude as human beings, but also just to understand that there's more to life than what we value. And now we're leaving this 2020 and stepping into 2021 here in a couple days. I say a couple days because it's going to fly by after the holidays. To really figure out, what we need to do in life a little bit better. And so when I thought about emotions in the power of your mind, it's really important to think about how the two go together. Your mindset literally has a way of paving your emotions. And so, I was told that you shouldn't pay attention to your emotions. And you know what? I totally disagree with that, because your emotions allow for you to see what's needed in your life to be able to do the work in reference to your mindset. So the two are like cousins. Literally, they're connected. And so let's talk about emotional balance. And I'm sure that you deal with this in reference to the clients that you serve. When someone is looking to gain emotional balance within their life, what does that look like to you from the coaching side of things?
It's really interesting. Just 2 weeks ago, I was talking with a client, and I don't even know, it just flew out of my mouth. But I said to her, it's kind of like we got to stop, drop, and roll. And we got to stop and look at the situation. And how is it affecting us emotionally? Is it holding us hostage? Is there something that's really holding us hostage? Is there something that's, repeating? When we stop and become aware of what's going on, sometimes the situations happen over and over again, and you go, well, why me? Why me again? Why me again? That's the clue to stop and look inside. It's something about you. Instead of pointing your finger, and they say, well, for every finger pointed, there's 3 pointing back. To really stop and look at it and be able to say, okay, what about this do I need to deal with inside me? Where is it coming from?
Right. So what would you say to somebody that is tuning in or listening to the podcast via anchor.fm, and they're wanting to know, how do I start with this process of even being committed to doing the work to be able to shift my mindset? What would you say to them?
Do you have joy in your life? Are you fully joyful in your life? And we're in tough times, but that doesn't mean that it has to be non-joyful.
Yeah. That's good. So, I mean,
I could make a list of things of just this year that have happened, but I haven't blamed it on the COVID, blamed it on this. It's a time of being still, and being able to sit back and go, okay, what do I have control of? What can I do from this, and what am I learning from it? And when we take those lessons that we learn, and move them into motion, then you're going somewhere.
Let's speak to the person who is nervous, scared, full of emotion about uncovering the first layer in order to do the work. Well, what do we say to them?
There's so many people out there, and the world is hurting. And we all have deep, dark secrets. We all been through, we have all had a journey, we've all had. And what I love to say to my clients is, it's the most confidential because there's so many places in life that you can talk to a girlfriend or talk to a family member and you don't feel safe. So the
Yeah.
confidentiality of having that confidence in somebody, a safe place, and then allowing the courage to share without judgment. Those are the 3 top things that I'd say to people, because in our lives, there's so many times that it's easy for somebody to go, oh, well, did you know? And that's natural. That's something so natural that people just go out and they don't even know that they're gossiping. They're just going and sharing your business or sharing in whether they choose to know that they're hurting the person or not. It's just a natural thing for so many people. So one of the top things is confidentiality, a safe place, and no judgment zone.
That's good. And a lot of times, I'll say this. I don't know what your upbringing was like, Amanda, but definitely in the African American culture, a lot of times we were told what goes on in the house stays in the house. So when you think about house, it's not just a physical building. You think of house being your own dwelling. And so there's a lot of emotions and baggage that you keep in because you're told what goes on in the house stays in the house, right? And so let's talk to the person who is wanting to get over some of these mental barriers that they had instilled in them at a very early age. What do we say to them?
You know, I love this because a lot of my clients are in that 50-year-old range, which is interesting because in that day and age, it wasn't like it is right now. No matter what race, religion you come from, it's a lot more, social media, like life is just more social now. And it's not, you just sit there, shut up and don't say a word. It's not, you don't go say, you don't, that's not what we live like now. So there's a lot of people that are in that stage of like, oh my goodness, can I say this? Is it okay to say this? And it's everybody has a journey. Everybody has a story. And I'm not going to condemn or condone anybody for what they've been to. I've worked with addicts. I've worked with inmates. And you know what? My theory is I'll hear your story. And I get so inquisitive. Like I'll even in prison, I'll see them go by and I'll be like, why did you become what you became? And when we can really sit and think about that inside ourselves, that's where we go. It's not about the alcohol. It's what happened the first time that you went to alcohol. What was the trigger? What was the situation that happened that you were looking for avoidance?
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people don't go down to the deepest of the deep. They're just like, oh, it's an addiction. Oh, it's this. No, but the question before the question. That's where we need to go. And that's the uncomfortable. And it's okay to go there. If we don't go there, we're just going to keep the same paint on the same house. You know what I mean? Like there's how many houses the exterior gets painted over and over and over again, but nobody sandblasted the first one.
Wow.
Same things as our lives.
Yeah. Wow. Ooh. Yeah. You know what? Now that's good. That's really good. We get comfortable with life being as it is, so we're like, okay, well, you know what? I'll just build on top of this. And you were like, no, you can't just build on top of this. You need to go down to the root of it and then rebuild. And so as an identity coach, I talk to my clients about that. And even when I'm working with people to publish books and they're working on their non-fictional stories, I'm like, okay, this part right here, we need to clean it up a little bit because it sounds like you're just blaming some people instead of you. Did you do the work to get to this? Are you sure you want to share this? And so I teach my clients to when you're writing a self-help resource, you can't just spew on people. That doesn't work. So you got to get to the root of it and then come back up and then speak from a healthy place. And so, yeah, I love that with that analogy, just talking about, sandblast the house before you, pick a new color. You know, you've gone through some things. You no longer need the yellow. Maybe you want a bright orange, you know. But just understanding the power of going back down to the root system. And I think sometimes we don't want to do the work because it's so difficult to go back down to the root of where the trauma, the pain, the all that was first caused. And so, but now, you know, understanding how our emotions and our mind is connected to one another, I think it's really powerful for us to walk away with principles, understanding how to shift our mind and our emotions. So, what are some key things that you give to your clients or you recommend your clients do that need that shift in their mind and in their emotions to become a stable being?
Well, one of the things that and it's a modality that an energetic healing modality that I come across recently, and it is like I think I have 21 certifications now, but this
Wow.
just was like all those tools that I've acquired over the years. This one tied it all together. So what it does is it goes in and works in the subconscious mind. So in our
Mhm.
conscious mind, you know, we can say, oh yeah, I've dealt with that. I dealt with that. I dealt with that. And it's like we take the trash to the trash can.
Okay.
However, what happens is that trash can never gets taken out. The trash can is your subconscious mind and it's
Wow.
loving it. So what happens when you don't release the subconscious mind? 8 years ago, I worked on stuff. And with my practitioner in my first session, she said words that were bang on what I knew 8 years ago. And I was like, oh my goodness. I knew that was bothering me for so long, yet it was been
Yeah.
sitting there lingering and never been energetically, emotionally released. And then
Yeah.
it gets into goes into our bodies. I'll tell you, this year, I worked with my chiropractor. He was ready to send me for an MRI. We went for a CT scan, ready for an MRI because I was a mess. And I had just been dealing with abuse situations and I had just been dealing with a lot of stuff. So COVID hit. Couldn't go to my chiropractor anymore, right? Couldn't go through
Mhm.
therapy. I was using this energetic healing tools, went for my CT scan. And before I went in my CT scan, I said, okay, God, creator, universe, let's release. Show me in the scan what's going on. I
Wow.
hadn't felt any pains in 3 weeks. I laid down on the table. I had my CT scan. I couldn't get back up. The people that were there taking the CT scan are like, excuse me, ma'am, are you okay? I'm like, can you
Whoa.
help me up? I can't get back up right now. Got into the vehicle, left, did another session on myself to clear that energy back to like, okay, thanks for showing what you needed to show. Again, gone. It was incredible how the energy works. And when we release that subconscious mind and the things that we may not even know we have inherited. The things that have come up in my body have been absolutely crazy. And one of the things, as you know, I went through a couple surgeries over the last few years. The anesthetic that has sat in my body energetically and the swelling that I have released in the last year, when you talked about earlier about my transformation just recently, I haven't been to a gym consistently. I've maybe gone 3 times. I have not been eating consistent meal plan or drinking water or being so practical on that. And I've dropped 20 pounds. And I can only say I faithfully have been using energy healing to shift that, because guess what? That energy sat inside. You can eat what you want. You can work out as much as you want. But if your mind and your energy isn't settled, you got blocks up that you have nothing that you know about, or what your
Gee.
mom told you from years ago, or whatever the stuff is. It's
Yeah.
insane, incredible. So consciously becoming aware of it. Okay, good. Let's deal with it. You know what?
Yeah.
It might be something that you stuffed away and you're like, oh, I just don't want to go there again. You need to go there. You obviously need to go there again.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you're saying so much. So let's break this down. So when we talk about energy, I don't think some people actually know what we're talking about. I understand what we're talking about now. And I'm going to be honest with the audience. When I thought of energy work, it used to spook me completely. And I think a lot of that was just because of my background with God and religion. At that time, when it was introduced, I didn't understand the difference between having a relationship with God and being spiritual and versus being religious, right? So some of the things that were introduced to me, I was like, that's the devil, blah, blah, blah. As as you grow and evolve as an individual on your own personal journey, right? I've literally have started doing energy work, and it's blowing my mind on how just being in tune with my emotions around just the releasing of energy. So here recently, probably in the past month, I've started guided meditations. So I literally sit and do a guided meditation every morning for at least 10 minutes. And I was sharing with a friend of mine, she's actually watching and listening. And we were just talking about the power of Reiki and understanding, what that even looks like. And I'm gonna let you share a little bit about that for people who may not even understand what that world even consists of. And I would listen to other people talk about it, and I'd be like, okay, that sounds a little hocus pocus-ish. I'm good on all that. And not understanding the power of that and how energy is a part of the universe. It's a part of what God created. And so when I was introduced to it in a way where I was open to it, my first session was with you. And so, and the clearing that just took place even with that first session was, it will make you want more, because the clarity that you gain, the energy that you gain. When after my first session, I was ready. I was like, like just hyper, because I was free. And so I think a lot of people need to understand this principle. So share a little bit about, when we talk about energy work, what does that consist of? So people can understand a little more.
I smile so big because I remember the day we did your session and you're like, wait, whoa, hold up, my headache's gone. What?
Yeah.
What did you do to me?
I'm like, what just happened? I'm like, hold on. I'm like, this is crazy. What? So, it's amazing. And since then, I've a really great friend of mine. Well, it took two people for me to realize this part. I suffer with migraines from time to time, and my world gets really super dark, and I have to literally just go lay down. I can't be around light. Light absolutely annoys me. And I feel nauseous, like I'm getting ready to throw up. Oh, one of my dear sisters is watching and listening. So my girl saw Miss Jones. So, just understanding that's just the power of, being healed through energy. And a lot of, like I said, some people think it's like hocus pocus, but it really isn't. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
Right. Well, the cool thing is everything's an energy. When you feel something, that's energy. There's so many times when we're younger, when somebody may say, "Oh, I seen some, grandpa," and they're like, people are like, "No, you didn't." We're programmed to not have that belief. And so it's interesting because we may have that vision, or we may have that feeling, or we may have that sense, and that gets pushed away. And really, truly, that's really where energy work comes from. There's there's different modalities, but it's really gearing back to our senses of what's going on, and you using the tools, because there's Reiki, there's theta healing, there's bars access consciousness, there's intuitional, there's, and there's body code and emotional code. There's so many different modalities that are very similar. But the thing for me is there's nothing else that can explain it. I had one session too that for a long time in my mouth, I would feel a metal taste. I had no idea what it was. I couldn't even fold a tinfoil sandwich together. I would feel metal, or, the cups that are the aluminum cups. I couldn't drink out of them because I had that. So she did a clearing. The lady that I see, she did a clearing, and there was some metabolic waste and some old energy that was stuck from years ago. And I went and I tested it, gone. And I was like, that is the craziest thing. But when people think it's hocus pocus, or when they think it's, it's that, oh, some woo woo or voodoo or whatever they want to feel like it is. I come from the opposite. I come from universal background. My first life coach says to me, what's your word? Is it God? Is it creator? Is it universe? Is it angels? What is it? And at that time in my journey, I was like, angels, I guess. I'm not sure. So I come from the polar opposite side of the journey. And now it's so cool because I have people that are very, very religious, very, very faith driven, very, very, and they have a place in space, and that's their belief. I have people that are in the middle and I have people going, I don't know what it is. And being able to bridge that together so that it is what it is for you, what
Yes.
your belief system is. And that's even this day and age is more, when people can be open to receiving, it is what it is for you.
Indeed.
So on the energy side, yeah, it's not, there's so much out there on Google. You can research, you can look up different modalities, energy healing, spiritual healing. There's different modalities that you can look up, and a lot of them are a lot similar. And you know what? It just kind of, what's your cup of tea? What's going to work for you? And just and not giving up. Like if you're going to go talk to a doctor and you don't like what the first one says, you're going to get second or third opinions. Well, keep trying that, because there are different ways that help with different people. But going back to when I worked with massage therapy clients, you can feel the energy shift. You can feel the temperature in their muscles. You can feel different things. And so, like I said, when they would talk, I would talk. I also used to get a hydrocolon therapy. And when we would talk through my therapy sessions, my bowels would release when I talked about emotional topics.
Wow.
My problem in my own body, and I'm just gonna be open about it because I am, but with my problem, that's where I hold my stuff, is in my bowels. They were going to give me a colostomy bag 6 years ago. Yeah, because I was having such bowel problems. Yeah. And what it is that's where, and a lot of people do, and they don't even realize it, that's where a lot of people hold their emotions, is in their guts.
Well, you know what? Okay, so now this is crazy, but it's not crazy in a good way. We're talking about just energy, and we're talking about releasing it. And so when you talk about gut health, like think about where our treasures lie. It's like in our mind, or we call it our gut feelings, all that right there. So it would make sense why we could struggle with gut health, because just from the emotional standpoint, when we say, oh, trust your gut feeling, it's still centered in that part of your body. So I'm going to transition here because I think this is really good. I'm loving this conversation because what you're sharing is information that a lot of us maybe have never heard, or this is challenging our belief systems to actually, go to YouTube University or Google or whatever to find out these things for yourself. And I mean, I believe in this stuff because I know for a fact we live in the United States, and, the medical industry is all about making a buck. There's so many natural practices that heal our bodies, and people don't talk about that. They're really quick to go hop on this pill, go take this pill. And I think about, when you're watching these commercials and they're like, oh, take this pill. And then there's the guy or the girl really quickly, like an auctioneer, talking about all the side effects of taking this one med, right? It's like, really? So is this supposed to be good?
Let alone, Toccara, you're not sure about the other 3 that you're taking and how that's going to affect those when you add that extra one.
Exactly. Let's talk about that. So a really great friend of mine, probably about 3 weeks ago now, introduced me to EFT tapping. And I heard about it about a year ago, but my maturity wasn't in a place to receive it. So here recently, I was on a platform in the UK speaking about setting goals during turbulent times. And the speaker before me was talking about EFT. That was a Monday. And so she was taking us through the tapping process during this live seminar. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And so what she was doing as she was teaching about EFT tapping, she had people tapping with her. And so in the chat, people were going and just talking about their pain relief from, a 10 to a 1, rating it. And I was just like, wow, really? Now, I didn't participate in it. I knew I was getting ready to speak. So I was kind of going over notes and things of that nature. But my awareness was heightened through that conversation. Fast forward to Thursday of that week when a great sister of mine, I told her, it was moments before Vault Talks Women Shares. If you guys don't know what Vault Talks Women Share is, it is my live stream show with my amazing 2 co-hosts every Thursday night, 6:30 Central Standard Time, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Vault Talks, you can search for us on Facebook and YouTube. Give that plug real quick. And I was literally getting ready for the show, and she was like, what's wrong? And she's amazing. She says, how can I, what does she say? How can I make space for you? She's really big on that, which I love. And I said, I have a headache.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, what kind of headache is it? And then I went to kind of describe. And so we're texting at this point. And so she sends me this video about tapping. Now I'm sitting here, laying here in my bed at this point in the dark. All I had was my phone. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, now this girl has no clue that I was just introduced to tapping on Monday. So here she comes and shows me this. So she said, try it. I said, okay. Got up out of my bed, sat and tapped. And literally my headache was gone, just like this. And ever since I've been tapping, when I feel that pain, it goes away. So for those of you that don't know what EFT stands for, it stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. There's points within our body if we tap, like right here, you take your fingers and tap here. You can tap here. And for those of you who are listening on the podcast, basically the palm of your hand, there's a side of your hand where you can tap and use your 2 fingers. You can take 2 fingers and tap right underneath your nose. You can take 2 fingers and tap right underneath your eyes. You can tap the crown of your head, and then you can tap underneath your armpit. And when I saw this person do it on Monday, I was like, okay, yeah, or whatever. And so, like I said, here we are on Thursday. She's sending me this, and the guy is doing the same thing. I'm like, okay, really? So as you're tapping, you're speaking life into yourself while you're tapping, and you're speaking powerful insight to your body. And literally, that pain went away. And since then, I've had many episodes of these migraines, but they haven't been as potent as they were a couple weeks ago. Because now when that pain comes into my body, I literally just tap and speak life into myself. And you can tap for weight loss. You can tap for manifesting goals. You can tap for limiting beliefs. And it's an amazing process. And I had a friend of mine later on that week who had migraines. That was that Sunday. And I sent her the video, followed up with her on Monday. She said, yeah, that worked. And she was really like scratching her head like, really? Migraine headaches, tapping? Yeah. And so I say all that to say that's energy. That's energy that's coming from somewhere. And this is just me believing when we get migraines like that or we get pain in our body, to me, and I can't speak for everybody, it's a distraction. Right? I'm on the path of accomplishing some goals, and all of a sudden, boom, I'm stopped by a migraine. It's like my whole world shuts down. So there's other techniques, because normally I would go get 3 ibuprofen and take it,
Right.
and that would sometimes knock it out. And then I would have to take 3 ibuprofen and another pill to take, and so it's like, is this really good for my body? All this medication that I'm putting in my body. So I say that because this is really key. I love this. Energy is the healing to our emotions and our mind. We have to be aware of that energy that we're allowing to shape us and moving in different directions that we really don't have to move into if we can just get a hold of our thoughts and our emotions. And I know for me, what I'm learning to do to get a hold of some of these thoughts that come in my mind, I start asking myself questions. Again, don't talk to yourself. Don't ask yourself a question and then answer it. That's not true either. In order for you to get a handle on this mind, which is always going, You need to ask yourself questions and be able to calm yourself down and to be able to bring joy and peace to yourself and manifest that joy and peace and understand that you have the power to tame your mind and your emotions. And a lot of times we don't look at ourselves as this powerful being, but we have to, because there's so much energy that comes through our bodies all the time. So what are we doing with that energy? Are we spending time woe is me, which is draining for everybody, including yourself? Or are we literally taking that energy and literally saying, you know what, I want to be able to shift. I want to be able to build myself to be a better person. I want to be able to get rid of this stinking thinking. I want to be able to get rid of these habits. I want to be able to shift my mind. I want to be able to be healed from the trauma of my childhood. I want to be, it's a decision. And a lot of times we don't sit still with ourselves long enough to make a conscious decision and then move accordingly.
Well, the other thing is that we have this decision to make, or else we have this anchor that's just going to keep holding us down. So are we going to get the scissors to cut that rope to that anchor?
Wow.
And free ourselves? Or are we just going to allow that anchor to drop and hit rock bottom and hold us stuck there forever? We look at people that have goals, when they have their health goals, when they have their success goals in their business, when they have, relationship goals. If you're going to just let that anchor from what you had from your past situations hold you back, you ain't going to go anywhere.
Nowhere.
It's about getting down to the root and cutting that and releasing that and letting that go, letting that energy go, letting those emotions go, and once and for all, because guess what? They're just going to keep bubbling back up in the next friendship, in the next relationship, in the next business ship.
Come on. I love that. And being aware of the power that you exude can literally change your life. And if you're called to serve, to be a service provider, what I mean by that, a service provider, meaning one who is providing a service as a coach, a consultant, a mentor, you have to position yourself to be able to hold space for people enough to get them to where they need to go, but also release that space too, if that makes any sense. Yeah.
Healthy and not enabling them to stay stuck. Asking the real questions, asking the deep questions, and asking the questions of, what, are you willing to stay there for another year? I have clients that are, wanting better goals, or wanting to achieve their goals, because they try, get to the gym, do this health and fitness stuff, and then by January 16th, everybody's falling off the wagon. What are you doing right now to get the wagon going? And what is it that let you say? If you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. So now it's about doing something different. And maybe that is energy work. Yeah. Maybe that is releasing the old thoughts, ideas, beliefs, and patterns, so that you can roll out something new, something that you desire, something that's exciting.
Yeah, that part right there. So for those of you,
and literally, like you said, you had so much energy after that because you clear it out.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to a really great friend of mine this morning, and I told her, guided meditations, I mean, it's a 10-minute guided meditation that I do every day. And when I get up from sitting on the ground for after 10 minutes, I feel like Mary Poppins singing in the rain, skipping through my house. I have energy. I'm very, and anybody who knows me,
you know what I tell my clients? What I tell my clients is, I'm like, you don't have 10 minutes for yourself. So then what are you giving yourself? If you can't give yourself that 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Consistently every day, then what?
It makes a big deal. It makes a huge, I didn't realize what 10 minutes did until I started doing that. And I said to myself, heck, I need to go and meditate twice a day, just to be able to keep myself on that high, to be able to do everything that I need to do. And it's amazing. It's a really great high. It's a really high.
It's totally great.
Natural.
And I have a client that we do a 21-day, and there's a few different 21-day meditations that I have that are guided, that I send to her. And I said to her the one day, I said, you might not, there's a motivational part at the start of it. And I said, you might not have time to go back and listen to the whole thing again or do another meditation again. But if you get out of balance, go back and listen to the first part to get back in balance in your day. Stop, take 2 minutes, time out.
That's good. But see, what we're doing is we're teaching ourselves to make time for ourselves to be able to show up in our own lives. And so 10 minutes is a lot to be able to show up in your own life when you're a busybody and you got this and this and this. And so, you know, even when I'm coaching people on how to write their books, I'm like, take 30 minutes a day and do that. And the backlash I get all the time. But when you break down the fact that you need time for you, whatever that looks like, you need time to re-energize. You need time to literally just connect with yourself. And so speaking of connecting, so those of you who would like to connect with Amanda Danielle, the best way to connect with her is going to her website. It's Ask Amanda Danielle.com. AskAmandaDanielle.com. And her website is very beautiful, and it's an easy guide to connect with her on different levels. You can definitely see all that she does pretty easily from mind, body, and spirit. So AskAmandaDanielle.com is the best way to connect with our guests for tonight, today, whenever you will be catching this. So if you can give our listeners, viewers, 30 seconds of wisdom from the vault of Amanda Danielle, what would that be? Ready, set, and go.
It's time to take time for you right now. There's no more time better than the present right now. If it isn't working for you and hasn't worked for you, now is your time to step into it. And honestly, for me, your first call is always free. Your first session is always free. So ask me anything you want. If you're intrigued by anything or any part of it, or for somebody else, there's so many people that are suffering out there. And the last thing that we need is any more mental health problems. So if there's something that intrigues you, take this time to gain clarity, to clear your limiting beliefs, and to really release that emotional trauma and baggage, because you deserve what you desire.
Woo! Now that was a powerful 30 seconds. Thanks for all of you guys tuning in live, and thanks for you guys who are listening to this podcast via anchor.fm. So thankful, and tune in as another episode of Vault Sessions Unleashed is coming your way soon. See you later.